Okay, let's go. And so we start a little bit with context. And so context is always very, very good. And so let me switch over. So here we have the ARVO website, and we come back to this in a second because I want to give you a little bit more background what ARVO is, where like this tool sits within, let's say, your tracking setup. What are alternatives? So if and when it makes sense to really basically use them. And so let's have a look. Let's create something here. So, okay, let's start out with where ARVO is basically placed within a data stack. And so here we have ARVO, and then we maybe have something like segment. So it can also be rudder stack, it can also be amplitude, it can also be post hoc, so whatever. So some kind of systems where you send some event data to it. And so what ARVO does is basically ARVO, you can define your tracking plan. And therefore you have some kind of schema that you would expect that this schema ends up here. And then let's do this one here. So for example, then let's make it a simple example. So we just have a website. So we have our website here. Let's give it a different color. Here we go. And so, yeah. And so from the website, basically what we do is like we track things, we send things here into segment, rudder stack or whatever. And so in basic implementation, ARVO is not really connected yet. So the only thing what we do is like we sit down in ARVO and we just define how these kind of events that come here. So events. So how these events look like, we basically define in ARVO. So let's do it like this. So like the event name, what kind of properties we can send, what kind of types these properties can have. So this is all that we define in ARVO, but right now it's not really connected. But what we can do is like, so there are different ways to implement it. And so I show you the way that I usually use. So what we can do is like, we can send the schema, so schema data. Schema data because of that. So we send an event, let's say, let's maybe do an example. So we send an event, newsletter subscribed. We send this, and so for example, it has a parameter called email domain. And so the email domain, let's say, is in that case gmail.com. So this is an event that we send from our website into segment. So what you can then do from segment, rudder stack, and post hoc, you can then send the schema back to ARVO. And what does it mean? So we basically say, okay, this is like an event like this, and email domain. So we don't send basically the value of this back. What we just send back is like, this is a string. And so, and we also don't send every event, so we just send a sample of these kind of events back to ARVO. And so why is this important? Especially like in times of let's say, data privacy and really like privacy by design, you don't want to send your data around to, I don't know, multiple tools and place your business data in these tools. And so an ARVO doesn't need this kind of data. So what ARVO needs is like, they want to know if the event structure or like the event schema is matching your plan. And so this is why you just send the schema information back. So like, okay, this is the event name, this is the property name, we send this back as well, and it has this kind of type. And so what ARVO then can do is basically, it will do a validation of your tracking implementation. And so now we basically have it integrated in our cycle here. So event gets tracked on the website, it gets into segment, and segment sends back the schema to ARVO, and ARVO checks, okay, actually the definition of this kind of event was right. And so you don't really have to fix something on your implementation. And here you can already see where it starts to go beyond just setting up your tracking plan.